9 hikers, one mountain, no signs of a struggle, yet their tents were slashed open from the inside. It was the dead of night, but they ran into freezing darkness without shoes, without coats, and whatever drove them out was terrifying enough to override every survival instinct they had. For over 60 years, the Dyatlov Pass incident has resisted explanation. Tonight, we look at what really happened. The Dyatlov Pass is located deep in the northern Ural Mountains of Russia, an area so remote that even today, reaching it requires days of travel through wilderness. In 1959, there were no roads, no cell phones, no rescue helicopters on standby. The mountain itself was known to the local Monsey people as Kholat Cycle, a name often translated as Dead Mountain. Whether that name came from legend or geography, one thing was certain. If something went wrong here, help was not coming. The hikers weren't reckless. They were students and graduates of the Ural Polytechnic Institute, experienced skiers, trained for extreme winter conditions. This wasn't a casual trip. It was a certified expedition planned for months, meant to earn them advanced hiking credentials, which makes what happened next even harder to explain. The myths begin. When investigators finally uncovered the bodies, rumors spread fast. Some hikers showed signs of massive internal injuries compared to the force of a car crash, but with almost no external wounds. Others were missing eyes. One was missing her tongue. Then came reports that some of their clothing tested positive for radiation. And that's when the theories took off. Aliens, Bigfoot, and weapons. Some blamed secret Soviet weapons tests, experimental technology gone wrong, and quickly buried by the Cold War. Others pointed to sightings of strange lights in the sky that same night. UFOs, aliens, and of course, Bigfoot, because no mystery is complete without someone blaming Bigfoot. Over the decades, the Dyatlov Pass became a magnet for every unexplained theory imaginable. But here's the problem. None of these explanations fully account for all the evidence, the tent, the footprints, the injuries, and the decisions the hikers made that night. And in recent years, scientists have returned to the case with a theory that doesn't involve monsters, aliens, or secret weapons, but something far more dangerous. The last night, what we know. On February 1st, 1959, the group set up camp on the slope of Kholat Cycle. They were behind schedule and chose to camp higher on the mountain rather than descend into the forest below, a decision that would later prove fatal. Sometime after midnight, something happened inside the tent. The fabric was cut open from the inside. The hikers exited quickly, not in an orderly way, but in panic. The footprints, key evidence. Investigators later found footprints leading away from the tent. Some were barefoot, others were only socks or a single boot. There were no signs of a struggle, no signs of pursuit. Whatever scared them followed no further than the edge of the forest. At the tree line, the group made a decision that would seal their fate, survival fractured into instinct. Confused, disoriented, exhausted, the group split apart in the dark. 2 men stopped beneath a tree, trying to build a fire with numb hands, scraping together what little they had left. 3 others turned back, stumbling toward the tent they had torn themselves free from, chasing shelter they might never reach. A thin shape in the distance that represented warmth, safety, and hope. The remaining 4 moved deeper into the forest, away from light, away from shelter, away from anyone who could help them. Their bodies would not be found until months later. Buried beneath meters of snow, preserved by cold, silent witnesses to whatever followed them into the trees. By the time the last bodies were finally recovered, the injuries told a deeply disturbing story. Broken ribs, crushed skulls, trauma consistent with extreme force. Yet outside the tent, the footprints in the snow told a completely different one. Calm, orderly, and absent of any sign of panic or struggle. No evidence of a fight, no signs of pursuit, no explanation for how such devastating injuries could exist without leaving a trace. For decades, this contradiction stood at the center of the Dyatlov Pass incident, defying logic, resisting explanation, and keeping the truth buried beneath the snow. By the time the last bodies were recovered, the injuries told a disturbing story, one that seemed completely disconnected from the footprints in the snow. And for decades, this contradiction kept the Dyatlov Pass incident unsolved. Until now. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. For more than 60 years, the Dyatlov Pass incident resisted every attempt at explanation. But in 2020 and 2021, a new investigation revisited the evidence with tools the original investigators never had, and for the first time, the pieces began to align. On the night of February 1st, 1959, the hikers made a critical decision. To shelter from powerful winds, they cut into the slope of the mountain and pitched their tent directly into the snowpack. What they couldn't see was what they had created above them, an unstable slab of compacted snow, silently held in place by nothing more than friction and time. Hours later, driven by wind, gravity, and the gradual buildup of snow, that slab released. It wasn't a massive avalanche. It didn't sweep them away. Instead, a dense wall of snow slammed into the tent with crushing force, collapsing part of the structure and severely injuring some of the hikers as they slept. The damage was immediate. Broken ribs, crushed chests, injuries consistent with extreme pressure, the kind caused not by impact, but by weight. Trapped, injured, and believing a larger collapse could follow, the group made a desperate choice. They cut their way out of the tent and fled into the darkness, leaving behind boots, coats, and any hope of warmth. As the night wore on, the group splintered. Some attempted to build a fire. Others tried to find shelter. And a few, injured but determined, appeared to make a final attempt to return to the tent, a journey they would never complete. The strange injuries that fueled decades of speculation, the missing eyes, the absent tongue, were not signs of violence, but the result of natural scavenging and prolonged exposure after death. Even the long-questioned physics were tested. Using modern computer simulations, similar to those used to model snow behavior in animated films like Frozen, researchers demonstrated how a delayed slab avalanche could strike a tent, injure its occupants, and leave behind the calm footprints seen in the snow. In the end, there was no secret weapon, no experiment gone wrong, no unknown creature in the forest. Just a rare combination of terrain, weather, and human decisions, turning a routine night on the mountain into a fatal chain reaction. The Dyatlov Pass incident was not solved by uncovering something supernatural, but by understanding how brutally indifferent nature can be when even a small margin for error disappears. Thanks for watching. If you learned anything today and want to help my channel grow, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps out. See you on the next video.